She struggled to find work after earning her business administration degree. Her mother, Janet, lay ill in their cramped Legos apartment, medical bills piling up with no funds to cover them. Despite her own burdens, she spotted a young man at a bus stop, frantically searching his pockets for fare he didn't have. Without hesitation, she paid for him, a stranger, using the little money she carried. That single act of kindness would soon unlock a future she never imagined, connecting her with someone whose life would intertwine with hers in unexpected ways. Mark Eric, the young man, came from wealth. His family owned Eric's Real Estate Limited, a powerhouse in Lagos, controlling vast properties and wielding influence. The Erics were a name people envied, their legacy built by Pa Eric, a self-made tycoon. Mark, though, felt trapped. At 28, he carried the weight of his family's expectations. They saw him as the heir to their empire, but his heart pulled him elsewhere, toward music, a passion he kept hidden. He longed to create songs, to make people feel through his voice, not through contracts and land deals. His parents didn't understand. To them, his dreams were frivolous, a betrayal of their sacrifices. One Saturday morning, Paul sat in their sprawling living room, his gray hair catching the light filtering through tall windows. His voice, deep and commanding, echoed as he called for his wife. "Eunice, we need to talk to Mark." Time. Eunice, gentle and composed, nodded. Sensing her husband's urgency, she climbed the staircase to Mark's room, knocking softly. "Your father wants you downstairs." Mark emerged, his face calm but his chest tight. He knew what was coming. In the living room, Paul didn't waste time. "Mark, you're to take over as CEO of Eric's Real Estate. Your mother and I aren't getting younger. This is your future." Mark's pulse quickened. He respected his father's achievements, building a company from nothing to a name known across Nigeria, but the thought of stepping into that role suffocated him. "Dad, I'm not sure I want this. I want to choose my own path." Paul's face hardened. "Your own path. We built this for you. Everything we've done, sleepless nights, endless deals, was for you." Eunice placed a hand on her husband, his arm, but the tension lingered. Mike promised to think it over, retreating to his room where he sat on his bed, staring at the wall. Music was his escape, his truth. He whispered to himself, "I want to make songs, not sell houses." Days later, Paul called him back. "Have you decided?" Mark's resolve had only grown. "I want to make music. It's what makes me happy." Paul's voice turned cold. "Music? You'd throw away a multi-million-dollar company for songs." He stood towering over Mark. "If you choose this, you're cut off. No money, no cars. Think cheerfully." Mark's knees shook, but he stood firm. "I'm sorry, but I have to follow my heart." Silence fell. Eunice's eyes glistened with tears as Mark turned and left the mansion, stepping into the humid Lagos air. He boarded a yellow public bus, seeking distance from the weight of his family's name. Across town, Margaret faced her own struggles. Her father had died 2 years earlier, leaving her and Janet to fend for themselves. Their small apartment with peeling walls and a leaky roof held little comfort. Janet's illness drained what little savings they had. Margaret knelt by her mother's bedside, holding her frail hand. "Mama, I'm trying. I'll find a way to pay for your medicine." Nate's voice was weak but warm. "I'm proud of you, my child. You're stronger than you know." That night, as rain tapped the window, Margaret prayed for a job, for hope. The next morning, she dressed in her best outfit, a faded but neat dress, and walked the city's bustling streets, dropping CVS at every office she passed. Hours later, exhausted and hungry, she spotted a sign outside a restaurant: "Cleaner wanted. Apply in person." Her heart leapt. She approached the manager, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I'll work hard, sir." "Need this job." He studied her, then nodded. "Start tomorrow. Pays at the end of the week." Margaret nearly cried with relief. It wasn't much, but it was a start. She walked home, whispering thanks to the sky, determined to care for her mother. Meanwhile, Mark, now severed from his family's wealth, wandered the city to clear his mind. His parents had frozen his accounts and locked the cars in their compound. He spent evenings at a lounge, sipping cheap drinks, lost in thought. One night, as he walked to a bus stop, a thief brushed past, slipping his wallet from his pocket. Mark didn't notice until he reached for his fare. Panic set in. He pleaded with the bus driver, "I lost my wallet. Please, I just need to get home." The driver shook his head. No pay, no ride. Margaret, seated near the bus window, watched the exchange. Her own worries, bills, her mother's health, the looming rent pressed on her, but something stirred within. She stood, pulling out her purse. "I'll pay for him." The driver raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" For a stranger, she nodded, handing over her last few naira. Mark boarded, his eyes wide with gratitude. "Thank you, you're so kind." They exchanged names, Mark and Margaret, and he asked for her number. Hesitant but moved by his sincerity, she shared it. As the bus rumbled through the city, a quiet connection formed. Mark couldn't stop thinking about her. Why would someone with so little give so freely? Curious, he called his friend David, an investigator. Can you look into someone for me? Her name's Margaret. I have her number. David agreed, and days later he reported back. She's a graduate, business administration, but works as a cleaner. Her mother's sick, and she's struggling. Still, she's kind to everyone. Mark's heart sank, touched by her resilience. He decided to visit her restaurant not as the heir of Eric's real estate, but as a regular person. He sat in a corner, watching her clean tables, her focus unwavering despite her exhaustion. He didn't approach her, wanting their connection to grow naturally. Over weeks, Mark became a regular lingering until Margaret's shift ended. They'd walk to the bus stop together, talking about the city, the weather, small things. Their conversations deepened, laughter weaving into their words. One evening, Eunice knocked on Mark's door. "I'm worried about you," she said softly. Mark confessed his struggle. "I feel lost, Mom. I want to follow my dreams." Eunice squeezed his hand. "I'll talk to your father. We'll unfreeze your account, give you the cars back. Take your time." Mark hugged her, a weightlifting. One night at a wine bar, Mark stepped away, leaving his phone on the table. A message from Eunice lit up the screen. "Son, your father's reactivating your account and Clar's tomorrow." Margaret saw it, her heart racing. Was Mark rich? Had he hidden it? Doubt crept in. When he returned, she masked her unease, but her trust wavered. At home, she confided in Janet, who was recovering thanks to the medicine Margaret's job afforded. "Maybe he wanted you to see him, not his money," Janet said. "Give him a chance." Mark sensed the shift. He texted Margaret asking her to meet for lunch at a quiet restaurant. He opened up. "I'm Paul, Eric's son. I hid it because I wanted to. Be normal, to be seen for me, not my family." He explained his music dreams and his parents' pressure. Margaret admitted seeing the message, and they apologized to each other, their bond strengthening. Over lunch, she suggested a bold idea. Why choose? Run the company, but start a music label too. Build a team, lift others up. Mark's eyes lit up. "You think I could do both?" She nodded. "You're strong enough." That evening, Mark strode into his parents' home, humming, "Dad, Mom, I'll take the CO role." Pa blinked. Stunned, what changed? Mark smiled. "A friend helped me see clearly." Eunice raised an eyebrow. "A friend." Mark laughed. "Her name's Margaret. You'll meet her soon." The house felt lighter, peace settling in. Days later, Mark brought Margaret to his parents' mansion. Paul and Eunice welcomed her warmly, serving a feast of pounded yam, jollof rice, and fresh juice at a restaurant, and secured the job, vowing to support her mother. Her kindness shone when she paid a stranger's bus fare. Mark, whose wallet was stolen, grateful, he asked for her number, sparking a connection. Intrigued by her selflessness, Mark visited Margaret's restaurant, hiding his wealth to build a genuine friendship. Their bond grew through evening talks and walks. Meanwhile, Eunice softened Paul's stance, restoring Mark's access to funds. At a wine bar, Margaret saw a message on Mark's phone revealing his wealth, causing doubt. Advised by Janet to be patient, she confronted Mark, who confessed his identity and dreams. Margaret suggested he run the company and start a music label, inspiring him to embrace both. Mark accepted the CO role, crediting Margaret. His parents, impressed, invited her to their mansion and offered her the chief operating officer position, complete with a house and car. Overwhelmed, Margaret accepted, lifting her and Janet from poverty. Months later, Mark proposed in front of their families, and Margaret said yes, uniting them in love and success. Their story, born from a single act of kindness, reminds us to stay humble and kind, as today, stranger may shape tomorrow's blessings. Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more inspiring tales. And she couldn't find work after earning her business administration degree, and her sick mother, Janet, needed constant care in their small Legos apartment. Bills piled up, and the landlord's knocks grew louder. Yet, one evening at a crowded bus stop, she saw a young man desperately checking his pockets for fare he didn't have. Without a second thought, she paid for him with the little money she had. That small act of kindness would soon open doors to a life-changing job and a connection with someone whose path would forever change hers. Mike Eric was the only son of the wealthy Eric family, owners of Eric's Real Estate Limited, a Titan Inn, Lagos property market. His father, Paul, had built the company from scratch, earning respect across Nigeria. The Erics were powerful, their name synonymous with success. But Mark, at 28, felt caged. His parents saw him as the next CEO, but he dreamed of music, of creating songs that touched hearts, not signing deeds. He kept his passion quiet, knowing his parents viewed it as a childish whim. One Saturday, Paul sat in their grand living room, his gray hair gleaming under the chandelier. Eunice, we need Mark. It's time he steps up, he said, his voice firm. Eunice, the family's calm anchor, agreed and went to Mark's room. Your father wants you, she said softly. Mark followed, his stomach nodding. He knew this conversation was coming. Paul was direct. You're to take over Eric's real estate. We're not getting younger, Mark. This is your future. Mark's heart raced. He admired his father's rise from nothing, but the CEO role felt like a noose. Dad, I'm not sure I want this. You want my own path. Paul's face tightened. Your own path. We built this empire for you. Every sacrifice, every deal was for you. Eunice touched Paul's arm, but the air grew heavy, Mark said. He'd think about it and retreated to his room. Alone, he sat on his bed, whispering, I want to make music, not manage properties. His passion felt like a secret he couldn't share. Days later, Paul summoned him again. What's your decision? Mark stood tall. I want to make music. It's what I love. Paul's voice turned sharp. Music. You'd abandon a multi-million-dollar company for songs. He leaned forward. Choose this and you're cut off. No money, no cars. Decide wisely. Mark's legs trembled, but he replied, I'm sorry, I have to follow my heart. Noose's eyes welled up as Mark walked out, leaving the mansion behind. He boarded a noisy yellow bus, the city's chaos matching his own. Across Lagos, Margaret faced her own battles. Her father had passed 2 years ago, leaving her and Janet in a rundown apartment with peeling paint and a leaky roof. Janet's illness drained their savings, and Margaret struggled to afford her medicine. Kneeling by her mother's side, she whispered, Mama, I'll find a way, I promise. Nate, frail but hopeful, smiled. You're strong, my child. That night, rain drumming outside, Margaret prayed for a job to save them. The next morning, she put on her best, dress worn but tidy, and walked the city's busy streets, dropping CVs at every office. Exhausted, her stomach empty, she noticed a sign outside a restaurant, cleaner wanted. Apply in person. Hope surged. She approached the manager, her voice steady. I'll work hard, sir. I need this. He nodded. Start tomorrow. Pays weekly. Margaret's heart soared. It was humble work, but it was a lifeline. She walked home, thanking the skies, determined to provide for Janet. Mark, meanwhile, was cut off. His parents froze his accounts and locked the family cars. Seeking solace, he frequented a small lounge, nursing cheap drinks. One evening, walking to a bus stop, a thief slipped his wallet from his pocket. Unaware, Mark reached the stop and realized he had no fare. He begged the driver, I lost my wallet. Please, I need to get home. The driver scoffed. No money, no ride. Margaret, on the bus, watched from her window seat. Her own worries, medical bills, rent, survival, pressed hard, but compassion stirred. She stood, pulling out her purse. I'll pay for him, she said, handing over her last naira. The driver shrugged, letting Mark board. Grateful, Mark approached her. Thank you, you're incredibly kind. They exchanged names, Mark and Margaret, and he asked for her number. Hesitant, she shared it, sensing his sincerity. As the bus moved, a spark of connection flickered. Mark couldn't shake her kindness. Why would someone with so little give so freely? Curious, he called his friend David, an investigator. Check on someone for me. Her name's Margaret. I have her number. David agreed. Days later, he called back. She's a business administration graduate, working as a cleaner. Her mother's sick and she's barely scraping by, but she's kind to everyone. Mark's heart ached. He visited her restaurant, sitting quietly in a corner, watching her work. He didn't reveal his wealth, wanting a real friendship. Over weeks, Mark returned often, waiting until Margaret's shift ended. They'd walk to the bus stop, talking about the city, food, life. Their conversations deepened, laughter weaving through. One night, Eunice knocked on Mark's door. I'm worried, she said. Mark confessed. I feel lost. Mom, I want my dreams. Mies promised to talk to Paul, restoring Mark's funds and car access. Grateful, he felt hope stir. At a wine bar one evening, Mark left his phone on the table. A message from Eunice appeared. Son, your father's reactivating your account and cars tomorrow. Margaret saw it, her mind racing. Was Mark wealthy? Had he lied? Doubt crept in. She confided in Janet, now improving with medicine for Margaret's earnings. Maybe he wanted you to like him for himself, Janet said. Wait and see. Mark sensed her distance. He invited her to lunch at a quiet restaurant. Taking a deep breath, he said, I'm Paul Eric's son. I hid it to be normal, to be seen for me, not my family's money. He shared his music dreams and his parents' pressure. Margaret admitted seeing the message, and they cleared the air over food. She suggested, why choose? Run the company and start a music label. Build a team, lift others up. Mark's eyes widened. You think I can do both? She nodded. You're capable. That night, Mark returned home, humming. Dad, Mom, I'll be CO, he announced. Paul, stunned, asked, what changed? Mark smiled. A friend showed me the way. Eunice raised an eyebrow. A friend, Mark grinned. Her name's Margaret. You'll meet her. The house felt lighter, tension easing. Days later, Mark brought Margaret to the mansion. Paul and Eunice welcomed her with warmth, serving pounded yam, jollof rice, and juice. Learning of her degree, Paul offered her the chief operating officer role. Work with Mark, you have the heart for it. Tears filled Margaret's eyes as she knelt. Thank you, sir. The job came with a house and car, lifting her and Janet from hardship. Eunice whispered to Mark, she's special. I'd love her as family. Mark met Janet, who embraced him warmly. Mark and Margaret thrived at the company, their partnership driving success. Margaret's new home brought peace. She drove her blue car to work smiling one Saturday. Eunice called Margaret to the mansion. Inside, Janet, Paul, and Mark's friends waited. Mark knelt, holding a ring. Margaret, you changed my life. Will you marry me? Cheers erupted as Margaret tearful nodded. Yes, they embraced, families united, joy overflowing. From a bus fare paid in kindness, love and opportunity bloomed. Never underestimate a stranger's role in your story. Today's kindness may shape tomorrow's blessings. Share what moved you and subscribe for more tales of hope.